All right, just moving my phone out of
Hey,
the way.
happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Real Talk. Today's guest, Michael, we were just kind of reminiscing behind the scenes about how he actually got started on LinkedIn with a lot of lives with Annie. So I just was like, did you used to do that? So we were just kind of going down memory lane. But I'm so excited to have him as a guest today because we're going to be talking about trauma. We're not going to hold anything back, but at the same time, I do want to give people a warning that this is a real raw conversation. So we do want you to be mindful of this is us talking about our experiences. We're not trying to give anybody any advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a mom of 15 kids. And we are just talking about real issues. So, really excited for this conversation because I just know on my journey of overcoming depression, it's these real, raw conversations that really help me look in the mirror and have growth for myself. So, I'm Lachelle Atkins, also known as America's Supermom. As I said, I'm the mom of 15 children, and I'm a TV producer to help you monetize your message and create a global impact through Keep It Real TV on the Zandra TV network. So that's enough about me. I'm excited for my guest, Michael. We have reconnected on audio rooms, and I just love his approach about being real and raw. And I was like, you just have to be a guest on my show. And I'm like, you should do this, you should do that. He's like, I did that. I did that. I've already done all that. So I'm excited to have him today. So, Michael, please introduce yourself before we get into today's conversation.
I am me. I'm keeping it simple. I'm just me. I mean, that's it. Like there is no label that applies to everything I am. So I've done it. I've done a little bit of everything.
I love that. Now,
I've
you know,
never given. I've never given physically given birth though. So that's like one thing that I can say I absolutely have not done yet because who knows what they'll do with my body if I'm dead. I mean, I don't.
I love it. You know, and it's this humor that you have, right? You're being real. I'm cracking up, but let me just start with we were talking in the audio room about how you overcame a stroke or something, and just your resiliency. And it's just the fact that you really know who you are, right? And you're just at this point to where you're not moved by other things. I mean, I think we all have situations, our kids can say stuff and we're just like, I'm strong, and they can just really break us down quickly with something they say. But no, you just have this inner knowing, and I know I can resonate with it from experience, but talk to us just recently about overcoming this stroke.
I mean, the stroke is just like the icing on top of the cake. I mean, it's just a cherry because that was near death experience number 16.
Wow.
And it was the greatest situation that has ever happened to me in my life. I call it the stroke of gratitude because it has taught me to fully embody gratitude.
Mhm.
Not like say it, not speak it, not live it, but embody it fully. I thank God when I wake up. I thank God for waking up. I kiss the ground I walk on because I absolutely am fortunate and love being alive. I unconditionally love myself today, which was a heck of a journey because I hated
Mhm.
myself for the first 40 years. I mean, I'm 44, I'll be 45 in about a month and a half, and I hated myself the first 40 years.
Yeah.
So the stroke really took away all attachments and to things, to people, to places, to everything. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm just me no matter where I am. And I proved to myself a lot during that period of time because it was a major stroke, 3 places in my brain at once, 86% chance I'd be a vegetable for the rest of my life. And I
Mhm.
healed myself. I went into my practices, my shamanic practices that I was trained in and guided to and ordained with. And then I went into my energy work and my healing modalities. And then I went into emotional work and I did emotional healing around it. And I released all these different things. And I
Mhm.
took 10 months off of everything, including LinkedIn, and only focused on healing, just disconnected from the world. Like,
Mhm.
didn't my, ever since then, my phone's been on silent. My phone is permanently on silent now. I don't want to hear a buzz. I don't want to hear a ring. I don't want to hear anything at all. it just doesn't bother me anymore. I'm always exactly where I'm meant to be, so I'm not missing anything.
You know what? This is good stuff. You are talking a masterclass right here with this first little segment. So, when you talk about, hating yourself, I think, I can resonate with that because, I was the people pleaser. I was feeling like I had to be perfect and have the right answer. And, I would have never thought it was an issue of not having self love, but when you have self love, it's like seeing the world through another set of lenses. So, talk to us about how, and I'm just saying, you're a male, I'm a female. So what was that experience like for you? What was it that really helped you to see that, okay, you know what, I just really am not loving myself?
It comes in phases. Everything comes in phases. There is no overnight switch flip and everything's there, right? The
Hmm.
overnight success happens over time.
Hmm.
It's build up, but nobody pays attention. When they're a success, it's a hero. But
Hmm.
until then, everybody's like, well, what are you doing? You're crazy. Why are you doing this? Same exact way in healing. Healing is a journey. The journey is the destination. It is
Hmm.
a daily practice. I call my life an active movement of growing forward. Like I
Hmm.
am in a permanent state of growing forward, growing, evolving, and learning daily.
Hmm.
It was phases. I mean, I was so a little bit of background story, and I've learned to keep it real short. And I was adopted at birth. I was physically, emotionally, and mentally abused from 2 to 14. I was sexually objectified. I was um, I started drinking at 9, doing hardcore drugs at 12. Um, I got sober in 2006 on Father's Day weekend because I got on my hands and knees and cried after checking to see if I killed anybody, called every hospital, every police station from any
Hmm.
receipt I was able to find in my pockets because I had no recollection of the night before at all.
Wow.
And so I really I hit a point, I hit a wall where I just couldn't live that way anymore. And I
Hmm.
said, I made a pact with God. I said, if I ever use anything again, kill me on the spot. Now, granted, my caffeine and nicotine that stays. That doesn't go. Me and God
Hmm.
have that arrangement that doesn't count. But for me anyway, right? Like
Right.
everybody's got to do it their own way. There's people
Yeah.
that are sober that smoke pot. There's people that are sober that follow, whatever their doctor is saying. All that's fine. I've
Hmm.
had teeth, I've had wisdom teeth removed. I've had all this stuff removed. I won't touch anything. I
Hmm.
take Advil. Give me the Advil 800 or whatever it is, ibuprofen 800, and I'm good. I'll deal
Hmm.
with the pain. I'm not scared of pain anymore.
Yeah.
So in 2018, I left my ex-wife and 3 kids in Arkansas because we were there from a series of unfortunate events that brought us to Arkansas. We were living
Hmm.
with another family, and I worked out a civil agreement with my ex-wife, and within an hour of me being on the plane on my way back to Florida to go fix my own life, she
Hmm.
introduces the kids to her new boyfriend.
Hmm.
Within 3 weeks, she moves across the state with my kids, and I had no access to them for 20 months. I had no idea where they were. I had no idea what was going on. They were getting abused daily, and I couldn't do anything. I tried filing for divorce in Florida, but I had no idea what the steps were, so I did the best I could based on where I was at.
Hmm.
That is when I started working on myself.
Hmm.
That was the first time in my life I said, I need to start confronting myself. It was
Hmm.
2018. I found Gary Vee. I started listening to him because I needed that harsh, really blunt, direct
Hmm.
way of breaking through my walls. And then as I started moving a little bit forward, I found David Meltzer. He was softer, a little bit gentler, a little bit more loving. I found Ed Milet. I found a few others, Lewis Howes, and a few others that I just started consuming a ton of information like I never did before because I actually heard it for a change. In the
Hmm.
past was, yeah, I'll listen to this. I never heard a word they said, right? Because
Right.
I wasn't in a space to be able to hear it. So it didn't matter,
Yeah.
And that's why we need to be on social media being repetitive and speaking as much as possible because people don't, it doesn't sink in the first time. It just
Yeah.
doesn't. Not if you're in a space where you're not ready to hear it. So that's why you do the repetitive post, the repetitive messaging.
Hmm. Totally
So
agree.
then So I'm separated from my kids. 2000 December of 2019, I'm still in South Florida. It's now been over a year and a half that I've had no access to my kids. My father says, "Let's go out to lunch," and he took me out to lunch. And he said, "I need to tell you something." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "I need to apologize to you for all the abuse that happened when you were a kid." He goes, I never understood how bad it was. And I said, you are the only person in the family that ever acknowledged that anything even happened to me. This whole time I've been the black sheep, I've been the liar, the manipulator, the storyteller. And I really believe that acknowledgement, I started breaking down. I broke down into tears. He broke down into tears. It was this crazy emotional experience that me and my father never had a day in my life before that. And I was 40 years old, 40 and a half years old.
Wow.
That was the foundational moment for me to really start going deeper within myself and find the strength and fortitude to take the next step. So in February of 2020, I got physical proof of abuse against my kids, pictures and videos, and sworn affidavits from my ex-mother-in-law and ex-sister-in-law, her sister, her mother, who testified on my behalf because they were so worried about the kids. That's how bad it got.
Wow. That's amazing.
So I jumped in the car from South Florida, $3.76 to my name, and I drove to Arkansas with 8 days of clothes in it. And I'm like, I have physical proof. What can go wrong? This was February 25th of 2020. So no idea what was coming, right? No idea what was coming next. I get to Arkansas. My dad meets me there. He helps me secure a lawyer. So we secure the lawyer on the 26th or 27th, or maybe even the 25th, whatever it was. It was somewhere in those days, right? That window of days. I could have left the 24th, the 23rd, got there the 25th. It was something in that window. We got a lawyer. And on March 6th of 2020, I was finally awarded emergency custody of my kids.
Wow.
Now, keep in mind, I was already there for 10 or 11 days. I was on the verge of suicide because I didn't know how to protect my children. I was within an hour of them. I couldn't let it be known that I was in the area. They would have taken my kids and ran.
Yeah.
One of the child advocates I spoke to said they're going to go into sex trafficking. They're doing all these things because the ex-boyfriend was working with the cartel to move meth across the Ozarks. So this is the environment that I'm walking into. And I didn't care. Nothing mattered. I went there to save my kids. I was going to save my kids no matter what. The problem with saving my children was I accidentally saved myself. I had no intent on saving myself. Zero intent. I didn't want to save myself. I didn't care, but I wanted to save them. I wanted to do right by them. My father finally acknowledged me. He finally saw me. I felt strong. I went into it, and 19 months later, I was finally awarded custody.
Praise God.
I packed for 8 days. I was stranded there all of COVID. It was 5 months in between court dates. I was in the middle of nowhere. There were more cows than humans. It was very desolate, very isolated. First thing the person said to me when I got the Airbnb on April 1st was, don't have a heart attack, you'll die. Because it's a 45-minute airlift to the closest cardiac unit. That's the first thing that the person from the Airbnb told me.
Wow.
Then he goes, by the way, here's the Wi-Fi password. So now that I'm there, I spent the first month bawling my brains out every day, not knowing what the heck I was going to do. Remember, I had $3.76. I've already survived a month out there. No idea how. I did a GoFundMe. It was on LinkedIn. I did it in other places. I didn't get a ton through with the GoFundMe, but I had people reach out directly to support me. Rather than giving me money, they paid for a week at a motel. They paid for a month at an Airbnb, which was cheaper than a week at the hotel. All that weird stuff, right? So, God willing, there's a plan in this. I didn't know what it was, had no clue, but I just knew that I wasn't going to stop. Because I was going to protect my children because I was never protected. That was the mindset for the whole thing. The problem with that was, until I was starting to heal myself, I couldn't be there for them. Them coming out of a traumatized situation. My youngest, Sid, at the time was 3 years old, just under 3 actually, and had no clue who I was. She had no idea who I was. I was around for the first year of her life, wasn't around for the 20 months in between. She didn't recognize me. She didn't know who I was. The older two obviously knew who I was. And after a couple of weeks, she finally started talking to me. It took 2 weeks before she said a word to me because she had no idea who I was. And now she's going to be 7 in June, and she's just now starting to realize the trauma she went through.
Wow.
But she openly talks to me about it, and she screams for me when she has nightmares. And we've set up a way of being in this house where it's an active state of healing for everyone involved. There is no wrong way to do it. I mean, you have to take your own journey.
Amen.
And I don't judge, blame, shame, guilt. I don't do any of that stuff anymore because I don't do it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
When we heal those parts of ourselves and we work through it and go layer by layer, it's a daily journey, then we don't do it to others. I just walk away. I just
Yeah.
remove myself. If it
Yeah.
doesn't align and it doesn't fit for me anymore, I just walk away. It's so much easier.
It's
Like
that is so true.
why am I going to stay in it and fight? Like, what am I fighting for? Like,
It's
there's
so
no
true.
point.
Yeah.
You either align or you don't align. If you don't
Yeah.
align, you walk away, and that's it. There's no arguing. There's no fighting. There's 8.1 billion
Mm-hmm.
people. Everyone can find somebody that they align with. Like, let it go.
That's true.
Like, and I'm not trying to be rude to anyone that I remove from my life.
Mm-hmm.
But if we are not a mutually beneficial situation for both parties,
Mm-hmm.
friendship, relationship, any type of ship, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
then why are you there? Like, what's the
Mm-hmm.
point? I don't have the time, energy, or space for it. I'm too focused on my purpose and my children.
I love that. And just the whole thing about the clarity, again, there's so much to what you shared. We could go down so many different directions. But I think the one thing about your dad acknowledging what you went through, I know that when I went through depression, there's this fog. It's like, I had been on medication, I was hospitalized, and it's like you do lose time. And so then you're
Mhm.
wondering, did this really happen? Was I dreaming? I mean, so to have somebody validate that, I think that was powerful because, that
So,
gives you that closure.
so a little bit of background in that. I was raised with that truth is the most important thing in life, right?
Hmm.
So the way that was explained to me is you tell us the truth always, my parents,
Hmm.
but you never tell outside of the house anything that happens in the house because it's no one's business.
Right.
So I was taught that the truth was omitting white lies and always protecting people from the truth. So
Hmm.
I was basically taught to be a liar.
Hmm.
And I was told that I was a liar because my real story, what happened to me, the abuse that I went through wasn't real. My
Right.
whole external family basically didn't believe a word I said. They all
Hmm.
think that I'm making it up, that I was telling stories. My whole life was never seen, heard, or valued.
Hmm.
It was a very toxic situation, and it was very manipulated and twisted. And it's
Hmm.
unfortunate because the beautiful part is when done right and when done in a unconditional way, which I really think is something else that we could talk about,
Hmm.
because so many people do not understand what unconditional love is.
Right.
Unconditional means zero conditions.
Absolutely.
Zero. You love yourself exactly where you are. Do I wish I could? Do I want to quit smoking at some point? Yes. Do I want to
Hmm.
cut back on caffeine at some point? Yes. Do I want to lose a little bit more weight, get healthier, do all these things? Yes. Do I want to make more money? Do I want to have a proper house, a proper car, all these different
Hmm.
things? Yes. But will I love myself more that day? Absolutely not, because it is impossible. I unconditionally love myself exactly as I am, because I am perfectly me, and I'm the only one that's ever existed.
Amen.
And
I
I'm
love it.
honored, and I'm blessed to be me. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm lucky. Look at what I live an enchanted life. Yeah, I've been through all these crazy things, but I'm still damn here. You
It's
know how
so true.
magical and enchanted that is? And
It's
that
amazing.
experience relate to others. If I
Hmm.
share my authentic story, it can relate to others and give them hope to grow through whatever experience they might go through.
So
Like, I
true.
mean, that's the gift to humanity. It's the gift of being human. When we stand in our truth and we own who we are. Yeah, I've
Hmm.
screwed up. I've made tons of mistakes. I've been a millionaire 5 times, homeless 5 times. Trust me,
Hmm.
I am nowhere near perfect, but that's okay because I've
Hmm.
learned every step of the way and I love it. And it's amazing and it's beautiful. And you know what? Next time I'll just make billions so I don't lose the millions. It's perfectly fine. Or if I make billions and I lose millions, I won't notice.
It's
But
so
it's
true.
just
It's so true. I love that.
but it's not about that for me. It's about impact and ripple
Yeah,
and really shifting the vibration of humanity is my purpose for being on this planet.
I
And
love that.
that's where I am today. And that's all
Yeah.
I do. I'm focusing on my corporate program because it will reach more people.
Mm.
It'll shift organizations from a reactive state to a responsive state. The organizational impact will be better collaboration, better teamwork, better bottom line, healthier employees that don't miss days for no reason, much
Mhm.
higher retention rates. Like, it will save the bottom line in different ways, but it
Mhm.
will also reinvigorate that startup mentality of everyone knowing their purpose.
Yeah.
Everyone knowing the purpose of the organization, which is so forgotten today. Like, how do you get, it's great to put posters on a wall. It's great to have taglines. It's great to do all these little things and claim and, you know, feel better about yourself that you're living into this. Living in it is embodying it. Janitor to CEO, everyone understands why they're there, what the organization is there for, and how their role in it fills their true core values, and they get to live in theirs. Because when each individual lives in alignment, that's when magic happens. That's why startups have such, the successful startups have such amazing growth, because everyone knows why. If you go to any of these Fortune 1000 companies, I bet you they don't know why.
Yeah.
And I bet you if you asked any employee, no matter where they are below sea level, they would have no idea what the mission statement is and how the organization lives into it. They just wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up some good points. I was going to touch on this unconditional love, because I know for myself, having that has helped me to remove judgment from other people, because
100%.
I can look at my good and bad, and it's like, hey, you know,
It just
everybody's
is.
got something, right?
It just is. It just
Yeah.
is. We're all humans. We're here to
Yes.
make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so when I look at it, so here's my phases, right? I always say self-awareness is a dirty thing in the beginning, because that's when you start seeing who you really are.
Yeah.
And God knows we never want to see who we really are. We have all these fantasies and illusions of who we are. When we really start looking at ourselves, we start seeing who we are. It's dirty. You don't have somebody by your side to say, hey, that's just how you reacted. That's not about you. It's not about them. It's situational. So my awareness went from self-awareness to hyper-aware to now I'm at compassionate self-awareness. My self-love went from despising myself up until I was 40, August of 2020, me saying I love me for the first time in my whole life. August of 2020, I was 40 years old. No, I was 41 years old. August of 2022, I fell in love with myself, which means I ignored all my flaws, went into toxic love, toxic positivity. I was blind to my flaws, thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread, came off extremely egoic, lived in that ego because I had no idea. I've never been there before. So I didn't know what it was like. And then when I had my stroke in 2022, that's when I realized the humility, the fragileness of waking up every day. 150,000 people die every day. The healthiest people in the world walk on the street corner, get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
A drunk driver runs them over, kills children. Children die of cancer. Waking up is not a gift to be overlooked. Like, I mean, it's a blessing to be alive. And I feel honored to know my purpose, live into my purpose, and be me. Because I am the only one in all of existence, and I have my unique story. And there's so much power in our perspective. There's 8.1 billion people on this planet. Everyone has their own perspective, and they're all true. But the only way you know what anyone else's is if you're sharing it. That's why when you come to a place from a desire to understand through curiosity, it changes everything. Sorry, I didn't mean to overspeak you.
No, that was good. You know, I'm saying, look, I am like picking up what you're putting down. It's like, man, we're like the same, coming from the same cloth. But you know, I want to address for men who are feeling like, you know, they're not enough, or they messed up, they're not good dads, or whatever the case is. You know, how do they start that journey of empowering themselves and moving forward to getting to this point of, you know, the only thing that's important is you and your children. You know, it doesn't matter what everybody else is saying, because that is a lot of pressure. You know, if you feel like you haven't been doing something right, you've got family members talking crazy, and schools and all these different outside influences. What advice do you give them to just changing the narrative?
Do the one thing that no one ever wants to do. Take it one step at a time, because there is no other way. One foot in front of the other. This was who I was yesterday. Yes, I screwed up every damn thing up until yesterday. The first 40 years messed every damn step of it up. But starting today, I'm going to make a different path. I'm going to choose to be more aware. I'm going to choose to start identifying my thought patterns, my patterns and behaviors, the way that I react. Start really slowing yourself down and start paying attention to who you really are. Then you need to go through layers. You need to work with therapists, coaches, psychotherapists, shamans, priests, rabbis, chiefs, whatever it is, right? Like wherever you feel safe, find someone relatable and work with them and find a way to embrace them and who you are and who they are. Find someone relatable to you, because I don't care. You can have all the education in the world, you can have no education. If you live through it, you're the one I want to be next to.
Amen.
I don't care. I want to be the one. I want to be with the one who lived through it. Because to me, we all have wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge applied to experiences equals wisdom. I want to hang out with the wise people, not the knowledgeable people. I want people who have applied their knowledge, who have lived through the depths of despair, who have lived through the gutters and the worst moments, who have grown through it, understand what it's like to be there, and know how to move forward. That's what I want. I don't care about the word resilience. I don't care about any of those words. I want somebody who lives the example.
That is some good stuff right there, and totally resonate with that, because, you know, it's the people that are wise that give you the opportunity to gather your own insight, because they know what questions to ask you. You know, they're not trying to tell you what to do. You know, they're very observant. They just teach you to look at things differently, you know, really changing your perspective. And, you know, that's one of the things that really comes to mind when you do have that unconditional love, is that you're looking at things from a different lens. But, you know, I totally resonate with that. So now you're in a space to where you're still able to serve others. You know, you've got a program that you're working on. How did you get to the point to where you're in this space to be able to serve other people? Because, you know, we can get so caught up in, oh my gosh, you know, well, my purpose is my kids, and, you know, I went through all this to get them back, or whatever that may look like, to where we can consume ourselves with that and then have this angst about doing other things outside of that, if that makes sense.
So I look at humans as humans, first of all. Adults, children, doesn't matter. Everybody's intuitive. Everybody has gifts. Everybody's connected. Everybody has their own way, their own wisdom, their own everything. So I don't look at my kids as less than, or that they need to be authoritative. I need to be authoritative with them. I need to be a director to them. I don't need to tell them how to live their life. They need to understand that they are safe to learn now while living with me, while healing in their own ways. So for my goal, one of the overarching main goals in my life is to inspire people to be self-inspired, empower people to be self-empowered. I want to give gifts that nobody can take away. I don't want to own it over them. I don't want to hold it over them. I don't want to coach people for years. I want to give them tools and gifts that they can use for the rest of their lives. I want people to evolve, grow forward, heal, and just keep going on their journey. Move into a state of growing forward. That's my gift. That is what I want to give people. So I treat my children like people. Wow, what a concept. So we have raw conversations. We have real conversations. I'm beyond transparent. I hide absolutely nothing from them. It's not the comfortable way to live, because being a conscious parent and being conscious and aware of their needs as well, rather than just saying, I'm single, I want to go out, go find a babysitter and say, here, go here. You know, me saying, I'm going to be here with you. Let's go hang out and watch a movie. Let's go do this. Let's go take a walk. Let's go here. That to me means more than my personal experience. I'm not worried about my personal experience. I had 3 children. That is a priority that I chose. I went and I fought and put everything on the line for my children. Accidentally saved myself. Accidentally. Had no intent on doing it. But the most beautiful part is they witnessed that journey too. It's on my YouTube channel. All the videos are there. You can see my transition from anger, sad, crying, upset, happy, miserable, fake happiness, surface happiness. It's just, you know, it's just one step at a time. And at the moment, in those times, you don't notice it. You don't even realize you're making progress. You think you're screwing everything up even worse.
It's true. It's true. And, you know, I love that approach, even when you're talking about conscious parenting, because we talked about this in the audio room about raising adults rather than raising children. because we don't want our kids to grow up to be kids. We want them to grow up to be responsible adults. So I love that transparency. And it's like, it's stopping the bleeding, right? It's us not bleeding on our kids. There's so many things that we subconsciously, I think, pass on to them, whether it's philosophies or habits and all this. And, it takes a lot of work. I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is that we have to be intentional. You mentioned that your program is more about responding rather than reacting. Well, that takes work.
Mhm.
It's a skill
Mhm.
that you have to
It
build.
is.
It's a mindset. So talk to everybody about what are some things that they can work on to transform themselves to be more responsive rather than reactive.
I think the first step is clearing out your mind. Our mind is our worst enemy. We average between 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day scientifically. Upwards of 85% of them slant negative. No matter what kind of upbringing we have, our mind slants negative scientifically. And up to 90 to 95% are subconscious based, pre-programmed based on our history behaviors.
Mhm.
So we are in such a reactive state. And then the world keeps us so busy that we're chasing busyness. We
Mhm.
don't have time to sit down, slow down, because we are taught that if we're not chasing, if we're not running, if we're not being hustling, if we're not doing these things, then we are not worthy. We are not valid. We are not anything. The first thing I think you do is you do brain dump journaling, which I don't know where that term came from. It's from
Mhm.
somewhere. One of the many sources, because I worked with between 40 to 50 coaches, 7 shamans, a few psychotherapists, few therapists, a couple priests, and a rabbi. You can go make a joke about it later. It's fun. It's all there for you. It's already written out for you. Go for it. Um, but like brain dump journaling is the greatest gift. You
Mhm.
don't judge it. You don't do anything. You just get it out of your head.
Mhm.
Because once you start getting it out of your head, when you don't know what you're doing at first, you're like, oh my God, I wanted to kill someone today. I wanted to run that guy over with my car. I wanted to, and you're like, oh, but I didn't act on it. So that makes me a good person, right? Because our thoughts are so random and our thoughts are so out of our control so often. We could have said we wanted to run that person over because grandma got ran over by a reindeer. So this could be
Mhm.
programmed in our head because it's
Yeah.
been in our head for the 40 years I'm on this planet, right? So, but it's not even me choosing that. It's just in my head,
Yeah.
right? We are who we act as. How
Mm.
we act is who we are. Words are cheap. Everything is cheap. Actions are the only thing that matters. The rest of it doesn't matter. Love is an action. It's a verb. Love
Mhm.
is not a noun. Love is not an adjective. It is a verb.
Mhm.
Unconditional love is a daily act of showing it to yourself. It's the same agape love, same love that your higher power shows you. I show my higher power. So how do I honor my higher power? By loving me the same way. Because without my higher power, I wouldn't be here, obviously.
I
So
love it.
why am I not honoring that? That's how I honor my higher power.
And that's good stuff. And I totally agree with that about the action, how you're showing up, these things that you're doing. It takes practicing this on a regular basis, and we embrace these things, practicing law, practicing, being a doctor and all these other things and everything else. We just don't even hold ourselves accountable. But when you're thinking about, let's go back again to getting off social media or LinkedIn, because I remember I went through that when I came to myself, so to speak. I got off social media so that I can hear my own voice. But for
Mhm.
people who are kind of dipping their toe into doing that, what are some things that they could focus on when they're kind of getting away from some of those old patterns?
So, okay. So here's the thing. I've been on LinkedIn since 2006.
Hmm.
I had my first account. I closed it down in 2011 or 12. A year later, I reopened it. So there was a year gap, but I've been on since then, right? My network was my life. I existed because of the network I created. I thought that was my value to the world was my networking.
Hmm.
So I was living on my phone, living in LinkedIn, had notifications on, had the sound on my phone, got the dings all day long because I was ritualistically commenting, marking, going and engaging everywhere on LinkedIn because I thought that was my value to humanity. I
Hmm.
truly thought that was my self worth. was
Mhm.
chasing. The happiest I've ever been in my life was when I shut that damn sound off my phone. Doesn't matter. I never miss a call that's important.
Yeah.
I miss the bill collectors, but I don't miss when my kids call. I don't miss when my kids' schools call, when therapists call. I don't
Mhm.
miss when my doctors call. I don't miss anything that matters.
Mm.
If you're going to voicemail, there's a reason you're going to voicemail. I'm either preoccupied with something that is a pressing issue or I'm not available. So that
Right.
10 months that I was away from LinkedIn, I slept. I slept. The show, when I tell you the greatest way for me to heal from that stroke was sleeping.
Amen.
I've never been a good sleeper in my life. I hated sleeping, but I
Mhm.
got to tell you, after that stroke, it was the best sleep ever. I would literally I was half paralyzed for the first 6 weeks taking care of my children alone. I would
Mm.
literally drag myself up and downstairs, spend 3.5 hours getting all three out of the house and on their way to school. And as soon as they were on their way, I went back to sleep until the first one got home. That's all I did. That is all I did for the first few months.
Mhm.
It was the ritualistic ways of going and getting my kids ready, forcing my body to not work but be used because my left side of my body was I was paralyzed, immobile on the left side of my body. I was
Mm.
dragging it up and down the stairs, doing laundry, dragging it behind me, all these things. But that is how it healed. And then
Mm.
I went into my shamanic healing, my energy work healing. When I went into sleeping, as soon as they left, I put on frequencies and I slept the frequencies. So I would always make the intent and go into healing stasises and
Mhm.
go and set the intent to heal everything that was ailing me. And
Mhm.
little by little, I am healthier than I've ever been in my life. I went to every doctor. I go to the blood work. I follow all their whatever they say. I question, but I do question it because they only
Man,
know
that's
Western medicine.
that's good.
They only know what they know, which is not wisdom, it's knowledge.
Right. That's so true. You know, and we can always be curious. I love that. So I could be talking all day. I want to say the last question, which is that inner confidence, being able to say what's on your mind, regardless of, who's in the room or who's in your presence, because that you know who you are. How does somebody get that?
Growing forward daily. There is no light switch. There is no anything else. It was a phases of moving through self-love. It was a phases of self-understanding, because I call spirituality the journey of self-understanding. Moving into a space of unconditionally loving myself says, I know I'm going to make mistakes. I know I'm going to be accountable for them. And I know it's okay because I'm a human being, but I love myself anyway. So if
Mm.
I say something and I'm speaking my truth and it is wrong, perceived wrong, offends somebody else, I am accountable to them, even if they don't notice. I'm accountable
Mm.
to my 6-year-old. I go apologize to her more than anyone on the planet. She's 6.
Mhm.
But I got to tell you, when I'm having an off day, she'll walk up to me and say, "Dad, go do a self forgiveness letter. Dad, go meditate. Dad, go journal."
Love that.
So the fact that my 6-year-old that's just now starting to realize the trauma that she went through
Mhm.
knows that there are healthier options out there to deal with her trauma and
Mhm.
knows that how it impacts me is the greatest gift to humanity I can ever give. The rest of
Amen.
it doesn't matter. Does she graduate college? Does she become a lawyer? Who the hell cares? She's going to
Mhm.
be a good, self aware, loving, self loving person. That's all that matters. The
Yeah.
rest of it will all work out. It's way
Mm.
outside of my control. I don't ship them off. They don't disappear. I'm not gone.
Mhm.
I'm present. I'm a safe space for them. And I unconditionally love myself and them.
I love that.
And that's it.
And I think that whole piece is you can serve because you're taking care of yourself. You can begin to see other people and other things. So tell everybody about your programs, your rooms that you have on LinkedIn, just whatever you want to share, because I think you're a dynamic person to interact with. I mean, just the conversations that you have, they're so, it's inspirational, right? Because
Thank you.
I've learned in my journey that that's what I want to be, inspirational. I don't want people to feel like you have to be this perfect person. You can start where you are and you can decide that you're going to do something different and you can just do it. Right. And so when we hear other people's stories of major things that they've overcome, that if they can do it, we can do it. So share, anything that you would like everybody to know about how they can get in contact with you.
I'm the only Michael Paterano in the whole planet. There is no other one of me. So that's spelling of my name. Do a Google search. You'll find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and I think Facebook, maybe. I have no idea. I don't really go there. But feel free to reach out to me. I look at every message that comes into my DMs. I don't answer the stupid Bitcoin and other sales crap ones.
I feel you on that.
But I do look at every single one. So if you are a real human being wanting to connect, I am open to communicating with anyone. My cell phone number is publicly shared online. Mm-hmm. Feel free to text me. I don't care. Don't call. My phone's on silent. I won't answer. But feel free to text because that I can scan through and see where I'm in the middle of with my kids. Mm-hmm. But I'm not selling my program. I'm living I'm a living example. Like, you want to learn more? Come hang out. I promise you will accidentally love yourself more. You will accidentally want to grow forward. You will accidentally be a better human being towards yourself and then reflect that outward.
I love it. That sounds like a good example.
It's not. It's really not. There's
I'm saying the accidental, what is it? Accidentally loving yourself. That's a good title for a book. Seriously.
You spend enough time with me, you will accidentally fall unconditionally in love with yourself. Mm-hmm. It is a horrible thing to happen. But you'll have to face yourself along that process. Mm-hmm. And that's where most people disappear from my life because they can't face themselves. They're not ready. And that's fine because I've had people come back 2 years later that are now ready. Yeah. So the door is always open. Just doesn't mean we have to be close. If there's no alignment today, doesn't mean there isn't in 6 months. Doesn't mean there isn't in a day. It could be a day. Doesn't matter. Just be accountable and be real. My two audio rooms on LinkedIn, you can always come to those. They are Thursday and Saturday, 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Every Thursday, every Saturday, doesn't matter. Did it on Christmas Eve, did it on whatever other holidays came on those days. If it was Christmas Eve, then it was also New Year's Eve because it's a week apart. But I have no idea if it was, though. No clue. It might have been on Sunday instead of a Monday, or Sunday instead of a Saturday. But they all feel the same after a while. When your kids are home, you don't have no idea what day of the week it is.
It's so true.
So like spring break,
they have school tomorrow or not, right? That's
exactly. Like spring break, it's like who knows what even day it was. I had to set a note just to remind me that they were going back, and then my son was sick for another week and a half on top of that. So it's like I went 18 straight days with kids home. Then you had to go doctors, pharmacy, go get medicine, move a whole bunch of appointments, lose a whole bunch.
It's so true.
Doesn't matter. It all works out.
It does. And, and it's so funny that, we just get stretched by our kids. You just couldn't imagine. It's like one is sick, or even if all of them are sick, it's always something. The dynamic is never the same. So, you
just set up a hospital ward in your own house because you have 15 of them. Like it's a whole client service division on that side of your house.
It's so true. It would be if it was that way. But for me, it's usually in stages. One person gets
it goes on. It goes on for 6 months.
Forever.
Like it's just a 6 months. Right. It's like 6 months, but there's a new version out by the time it goes through number 15. Like and then you get it 7 times in between because you can't take care of yourself. But listen, I want to shift something.
Okay.
We choose to be present for our children.
Yeah.
Because not everybody is.
That's true.
And not everybody realizes that they're not.
Yeah.
It is a conscious decision.
That's true.
And we don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't acknowledge that gift that we give ourselves. Mm-hmm. I choose to be present for my children because I choose to be present for myself. Am I imperfect? Absolutely not. I screw up shit daily.
Yeah.
It's just who I am.
Yeah.
But I learn and I grow and I evolve. I journal. I meditate. I do my energy work daily, every day, ritualistically. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in habits. I don't believe in those things. I believe in creating a way of life. Because it's a non-negotiable. It's not a habit. It's a non-negotiable. Smoking is a habit. Caffeine is a habit. Mm-hmm. This is my way of life. I live this way. It only shifts when something that fits me better comes along. Something that aligns with me at the next stage or where I'm headed. I'm not worried about the rest. I don't care. Stop using the labels. Stop tying yourself into stuff that doesn't matter.
It's so true. I mean, you have said so much that I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this replay because it really they're all like major conversations we could have.
Mhm.
Like the thing with the labels, I for me, being on LinkedIn, I don't like to look at people's profiles because I don't want to
Mm.
stereotype. I come from a
Mhm.
high achiever, so you put everything right on your profile. It's stereotypes, right? We think,
Right.
oh, this person does this or whatever. And so I like to listen to people to even see. And so then I go back and I'm like, did you know that they did this? Oh, yeah, it was on the profile. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even read it, because again, these labels, I know for myself, part of my work is unlearning that, right? And looking up
100%.
words for the definition. We
But
get
the,
to be
but
saying stuff and it's not even what we need to be saying, right?
but the definition doesn't matter because what it means to us is what matters. So we need to
Yeah,
share what it means to us.
this is
There's
true.
8.1 billion perspectives.
This is
Everyone
true.
thinks the same word means something different.
That's true.
You can ask 50 Democrats what Democrat means. They'll tell you 50 different answers. You can ask
No,
50
this is true.
Republicans what being a Republican means. They'll give you 50 different answers. And the
Yeah.
reality is, generationally, it's different because 20 years ago, the ideals of each of those groups was completely different than today.
So
They've
true.
actually flipped in many ways,
Yeah.
which is so ironic. So
This is
saying that,
true.
JFK was this, so now I'm this, it doesn't even
Right.
align with the ideals that they had then.
Yeah.
Plus, they're looking at a world in a completely different way that they just keep drudging up information to divide and conquer people. Because
This
the
is
more that
true.
they keep us divided, the more that they can control and manipulate us with news sources.
I love that. And we're going to have another episode because we want
Sure,
to talk
anytime you
about
want. I don't know
the
how we could ever keep it
education.
under 30 minutes, though.
I know.
I don't know how we could. Under 30 minutes will never happen. So don't even pretend to plan for that.
But
Just
we need
saying.
to talk about the education, about the programming
100%.
and all that. So that's a whole nother thing. But
I'm 100% in.
yeah. So what final thought would you like to give everybody today?
You are perfectly you and just learn to love you. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Like it's that simple. Who
Hmm.
cares what anybody else thinks? They're not living your life. Your parents are not living your life if you're an adult or if even you're a kid.
Hmm.
Your kids are not, you don't need to tell them how to live their life. They are more intelligent than we are. We just don't see it. We believe that we're adults and that we have to tell them how to live. No, we have to live an example for them to follow.
Amen.
How many of us can look back and say, well, they told me to do as they say, not as they do,
right.
and or that's what I perceived as a child. So
Hmm.
so now that we're adults, we forget that we saw that. Like,
Right.
well, come on. I mean, who's asked me blowing smoke up?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who cares?
That's true.
And stop fighting to keep people in your life that don't align with you. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Be alone. It's okay. You're a great company. Be alone. It's fine.
It's so true. That is so true. Well, I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm looking forward to us having another one because I think again it makes it very comfortable to talk about hard things when you
100%.
have someone who is clear about where they stand, and they're able to express that in a way that it's just the truth, right? I mean, your truth helps people to know where they stand, and I think
Well,
that's important.
and hopefully, if it's not next to me, then they're far away from me. And I'm happy with that too.
Right.
Like, just stay away. It's perfectly fine by me.
Yeah.
There's 8.1 billion. There's plenty on the planet. I can find others.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Like,
It's
you
true.
don't need to be in my circle. This isn't osmosis. You want to really be close to me, you want to stay close to me in my life, do the damn work.
Yeah.
For yourself, not for me.
Exactly. It's
Because
true.
how you treat you is how I'm going to keep you around or not. It's not about how
That's
you
true.
treat me because I don't care how you treat me. Nothing
Is
treats
so
me
true.
unless I allow it.
This
So,
is true.
one of the hardest things I learned was we are what we allow. We deserve what we allow. It was one of the most hitting statements I've ever felt. Rip my gut out, make me want to puke on the spot because it was so true.
It is
It was
true.
so real.
Yeah.
And I couldn't hear that because of the abuse, because of the abuse, because of the abuse, because of the torture,
Mhm.
manipulation, everything that I went through. And then when I look back and I said, holy crap, that's all about me.
Mhm.
I allowed every step of it. Even as a kid with my mother, when she abused me, it was me antagonizing it because it's the only way I got affection, any type of attention.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
antagonized it. That was about me. It
Yeah.
wasn't even about her anymore. She was
Yeah.
unhealed. She did the best she could in her circumstance. She
Mhm.
carried her generational trauma. She carried the cultural trauma, all that crap. So, in the 80s, it was okay to hit your kids regularly, daily, if you
Yeah.
wanted, with wooden spoons, with baseball bats, with whatever you could find was perfectly fine. They didn't care.
Mhm.
I'll never forget. My mom was the first in line to sign the paperwork for my school principal to hit me.
Wow.
They still allowed that when I was in elementary school. She was
Mm.
first in line too. Hey, here, beat the shit out of him. Go for it. You know what? I
Yeah.
was there every day getting hit by them too. Because
Mhm.
that I thought was love. That is what I thought was love, was the abuse.
Yeah.
So as I grew up, what did I find? I found people to abuse me, and that's what I thought love was.
Yeah.
It's the same concept.
It's so true. I mean,
It's all
you
because of what I allowed.
this is true. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. And for those of you that are watching, James, Amber, Shell, thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
Please keep the comments coming. Even after this, we can go back and answer some questions that you might have. But I thank you so much, Michael, for your transparency. And I'm looking forward, seriously. We're going to get our calendars together and have you come back.
As many as you want, I'm here.
Yeah.
Whatever you want
Awesome.
to do. I promise it'll be under 2 times 30 minutes. It'll definitely be under 2 times.
No.
Because if we
Look,
shoot for 30, then it won't go an hour. So I mean,
it's
that's the goal, I
hey,
guess.
I'm
We
I'm
shoot for
good
an
with
hour, it
that.
might be a day event. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
StreamYard
hey,
might
I'm
throw us
telling
off at the 4
look, we
hours.
can have a whole summit, conscious
I'm
parenting,
telling you,
trauma, bring it on.
I'm in.
I
I
love it.
appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, you guys, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thanks again
Yes.
for watching, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.